All right, we're live again. This is our episode 2 of TikTok, a talk with an industry expert. We have brought you a very important guest today, and we are going to talk about few of the greatest topic that includes the data analytics and what data and how data drives the decision within the industry. Right? I know you guys been anxiously waiting for that. And so, without further delay, let me help me welcome my old friend who I met after a lot of times, and we'll be talking about some of the memories that we share and also very valuable stuff. So, let me welcome Pradeep Macharla.
Hey,
Hi,
Galib.
Pradeep. Hey, so good to see you.
Pleased to see
You're
you
looking
always.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
good to see you. Great, great. So let me give a little bit of background about Pradeep, and we would definitely hear more from him. So Pradeep definitely is one of a kind of engineer. Has 20 plus years of experience in total. Worked for some of the toppest Fortune 500 companies and led global teams. Different area of software engineering, not like a particular one area or having expertise in the tool. Pradeep's experience really diverse. Um, I had an opportunity to work with Pradeep at Capital One, and we're talking about 7, 8 years ago. And we have tons of memories. Like some of them are really silly, like you said. And we are just about to open our basket today. So, Pradeep, thanks for joining. And where are you right now?
Hey, Galib. Yeah. So, as you have known, I've been traveling across the world, like yourself, being otherwise called a globalist in some terminology. So, past 1 year, I've moved back to the US after I had my stint back in India, starting and developing a branch of the office. So, yeah, I live in North Carolina, not too far from where you are from. And
Yeah, it's just 7, 8 hours drive, not too far,
right, right. Depending on the
So,
perspective, right? If
man, I'm truly humbled that you are at least back. That feels great. We missed you for a while from US. I know that. Where were the last place that we met? You remember?
right. I think we probably met in India, if I remember.
Yes, we met in Hyderabad. That
Right.
you were showing me around all the IT development that were going on, and I was traveling there doing the Accenture related work. That was amazing, and thanks for the hospitality.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm
when
sure
you
you didn't forget the Hyderabadi biryani.
Oh yes, how could I forget about that? I ate the whole place, right? Um, so Pradeep, thanks for coming. As you know that we started this episode TikTok, and we like to bring the industry expert, really somebody who has done works on their own in the industry and made change and led teams and made decisions. And we like to have them share that same knowledge with the newer folks who likes to make a decision of making their careers into certain domain. So, and you are the best one for this, I know, because you are also involved in training, mentoring, corporate mentorship, corporate training, and training the new people. So today's topic is data, and I know that, and you can talk more that you've been involved with, multi Fortune 500 companies, and especially the data side lately. And you can probably give us an insight that how much important the data, what is the value of data, how data could make an impactful decision for those decision makers in their industry.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought this topic up, Galib. This is such an important age and design phase we are in as a humanity, where the amount of data that is produced, consumed, analyzed, and then later used as a feedback loop to make decisions has grown by, I would say, exabytes of data. Exabytes was data was not even thought about a decade or 2 decades before when the internet started. So I think it's a great topic to talk about. Obviously, we can go for hours, days, and years talking about it. but at the same time, I think we can help shape the right questions, and then we can give the audience the right data that they're looking for.
Sure. I mean, technically, our audiences are newbies who like to make a career in IT. Folks like that who, because I get a lot of students who are interested to make a career in data, but they don't really know where to begin and what path to choose. And they know that there are data analysts, data engineering, data scientists, and there are different roles that, big data is a new hype, right? Big data, people like to, just use this term, big data. So giving the broader umbrella, how can a person narrow down their focus when they're thinking about making a data related career?
Right. So if I were a newbie, if I had to tell someone who is, and I'm painting a very broad stroke here, because you could have someone from a completely non-IT background. You could have someone from an IT background but had some experience in either application development or some kind of software building, and each of them would have different learning paths. But that said, there is a common dimensions in which someone can look in and want to foray into the data domain, right? So the way I would think about is, I'd like to share an infographic in a moment, but before I go there, it's very easy for someone to go online and get confused with the jargon, because there is infinite amount of jargon, and the same word could mean different things in different contexts, right? So, for example, someone might say big data. In some contexts, when you talk to some other engineer, someone might say it's a large data set. Now, how would you differentiate a big data from a large data set? So these are some of the misconceptions. From a web internet perspective, big data is the buzzword out there. So in my dictionary, the way I define big data is, big data is, as the English word suggests, it's very large. So again, large from the perspective of what. So typically you would hear the three V's, which is volume. The volume of data is very big. Velocity, the data production of the data is so high, the rate at which data is produced so high. So for example, typically it's a transaction system, like a point of sale system. You're going to a retail store. Every minute or so, let's say in a high traffic retail store, you're producing data very fast. However, let's say you're going to a bank and pulling cash out. In these modern days, that might not happen as frequently as the transaction in the retail store might happen. So the velocity of data production is different. So that's the second V. Now, the third V is the variety of data. So if you think about data, right, data can be text data, it can be video data, like what we are doing right now. It could be a picture. So there are a variety of data as well. Now, how can we make sense of all of these and put things together in perspective and make decisions? So this all comprises as big data. Now, if you peel the business layer and then go underneath, you can go into the technical details of what's the size of the data, what constitutes the big data, and so on. But what I would like to leave the audience with, when someone from a non-data domain wants to understand what big data is, always look up these three V's, right? Volume, variety, and velocity of data, because each of them have different use cases. Yeah, I'd like to stop there and then see.
Yeah, sure. So that leads me another question: that how give us a use case how a big corporation really used big data to make their decision and tremendously change their business model, like Amazon and any of these companies, right? How they put these three things together.
Right. So I think the applications of where big data is applied and solved problems which are immensely impactful and meaningful are, let's take for example a bank, right? A bank or a financial organization. Um, Now, with the advent of internet, more and more people switch to online banking. So they would like to do everything online. So let's say you log into your bank account, you make a transaction, you pay somewhere. Um, what happens when you get more and more online is that there is a higher potential for your credentials, your data, to be also at risk being siphoned off by hackers. So how can you, let's say, I'll take an example of Bank of America. Bank of America might have 100 million customers. Let's just assume like 350 million is the US population. Let's assume 100 million is the population. Now, at any given point in time, either morning, day, or afternoon or evening, let's say if at least 5 million are doing transactions, the amount of data that gets produced, uh, and how does the system detect fraud instantly? Let's say, for example, you always uh, do your transaction from New York, but then all of a sudden, let's say if your credentials are uh, hacked and the transaction is coming in from California. Now that's definitely an indicator, but how does the system process instantly all the 5,000 transactions happening at the same time? And fraud detection has to be within sub-second, because uh, if the fraud has happened and you're reporting the incident after a minute or 5 minutes, it's no longer useful because the transaction would already have happened. You could have lost
All right.
sometimes millions of dollars. So it's extremely critical that the real-time data analysis is processed. The amount of data that gets processed in the backend is humongous. Think of it as a human. If you open an Excel sheet, you can probably look at a second, maybe 5 rows of data, 10 rows of data, even the best human. But what if you have billions of rows that are being produced, and you have to analyze all the billions of rows, and then you have to make a decision whether it's a fraud or not. So this is one of a very classic example of fraud detection. That's where big data plays a very big role. And I just took a financial organization. You could take video processing, for example. How can you process the video? For example, these days, there is teleprompting that is automatically, like, whenever someone is talking, you got to convert that into text and then send it to the system without necessarily having to post process. You have to do all of this in real time. Now, think of a system that a system like what we are using right now has to convert all of the text and then instantly save it and make it available. The amount of data to process is very, very high. So these are just two examples. I could go on and on with lots of examples. But as a fresher, for someone coming in from a data domain, understand that it's about the storage of the data, it's about processing the data, and then it's about bringing insights out of the data. All of these are extremely important when we talk about big data.
Right. So it's all together, all these combined together, the world of big data exists, right?
Correct.
And somebody can just pick in a special area of where they want to become expert on that big data world, and they can find them a job. So, Pradeep, I just want to drag this conversation back to some of the memories that we have. Uh, do you remember when you first met?
I think it was probably
What city?
Capital One, Virginia, Richmond. Is that what you're
Yes,
asking
it
me?
was.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, I think it was Capital One, Richmond, Virginia.
correct,
Um,
correct.
so I think we were working for Capital One that time. Yes, and remember the big campus?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest campus, right? Capital One has in in the Virginia area. It employs what, 15,000, 20,000 employees. I think that's.
Pradeep, I think I lost you for a second. It was the network was breaking.
Yeah, I think, okay, I can see you back. I lost you for a while as well.
Yes, I lost you for a second. So yeah, man, Capital One time was one of the best time we have together. We have many more friends there. I hope they're watching us right now and just laughing at us. So that's great. And I remember that you used to take the whole team for like in half an hour walk right after we used to have lunch. Remember that?
Oh yeah, fun times. Um, we used to um, we used to talk about a lot of things during the walk. You know, open free talk, right?
Open free talk, guys,
Real talk,
right?
the
We
real
were
talk.
like, we miss, Deepak and Harry. I hope that
Right,
Harry, they're listening to us right now.
right,
Guys, you guys are being missed. So yeah, man, it was a great time. And then I moved to the new company in New York. You moved to India, and we'd like to hear some of your experience that you were able to set up an entire corporation in India on behalf of the company that you worked for.
right,
Was it fun? Was it something challenging? Finding resources and setting up all the procedures. And did you fire anybody?
right. No, all great questions. In fact, so my family still was in the US when I was doing all of these things in India. So that's a very tough position to be in. So when I moved, uh, I wouldn't technically say moved out of US, but I was doing back and forth. So I traveled probably 20 times between India and US in a span of about 1.5 years, which is like an insane amount of travel. Um,
Right.
and at the same time, what I expected and what I thought when before taking up such a big operation, and what I endured during it, and how I look back and try to reminisce the learnings out of it. There all of those are different, and this is where
Absolutely.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Carry on.
So,
Pretty.
so I assumed that I'm a Superman. I can go set up the shop. I can build a team in scale it up to 100 in a very short period of time in a year. 1 year is what I thought, because majority of how offshore offices are set up, you would only read blogs. Um, People always talk about the success stories, but success stories are very far few in between. The reality is, it is tough. Even though
Right.
there is a billion population, it is equally tough when you want to establish. Uh,
So
a-
people have these feelings, especially folks who are watching us from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and any other South Asian country who are also developing in IT tremendously, right? People have this feeling that resources are all in India, resources are available. So you took a multi-billion-dollar company, set up their back-end office in India, and you probably hiring all sort of resources. So how tough was that to find you a proper resource for each of these areas in Hyderabad?
right. So I think it's about what's your recruitment strategy. What kind of culture do you want to build? The more clarity we have of setting up an office, the smoother the experience would be. Um, so, for example, though there is a billion population in India, the productivity that we get out of one engineer might not necessarily equal to same what you get in the US. Now, that's not necessarily the fault of the engineer. It's a function of external environment. It's a function of daily driving through the traffic, spending 1.5 hours. It could be a function of core internet. It could be a function of electricity. It could be any of these together. But ultimately, the amount of productivity you get is not the same. So you would have to accordingly modify your recruitment strategies. You would have to build some redundancy when you hire for positions.
And I couldn't agree with you so much because I was also traveling Bangalore and kind of traveling to Accenture's Bangalore's office. 30,000 people works in that office, and I kind of agree with you. The productivity is an issue. Like there are, scale wise, even if you find a higher skilled engineer, but their productivity, the amount of stuff that they deliver per day is way less than any other resource in here. And how? What do you think? What do you think is the reason? Because that really opens up another conversation that we don't really want to jump in right now. But quickly, what do you think is the reason? Is it the culture that we need to adapt something back in the back in there in Bangladesh, India, in that subcontinental?
Right.
Uh,
So my analysis tells me two things. There are some things that can be worked on and some things that are out of our control fully. As I said, right, traffic is out of our control, internet is out of our control. We can't do anything about it. Don't get me wrong. I think folks put equal or higher amount of hard work at the same time. So it's not that folks are slacking in anything. So it is the process, it is the communication, it is the time zone difference, because some of the agile projects in software requires heavy collaboration in the right time. And if we don't get it on time, then we are resetting the context. Like we have to build the whole context again. And so I think that we cannot apply a blanket statement to the entire country, but on an average, like if we talk about statistics, on an average, per employee productivity goes down because of these external and factors that are out of our control. But there are smart engineers and if I might say maverick engineers who can be compared to the best of the best in the US from India, Bangladesh,
oh
as well.
yeah,
So,
technically they're really really sharp and they're somewhat better than folks that we get here.
right, right. So it's a multitude of factors. As
Yes, yes, it's tough recruiting the team, keeping that balance in mind.
correct.
Man, that's a great experience and awesome. That and I heard that you were very successful and you got promoted to. So that's that's great. And welcome back, man. That's what I care about the most. We got to do some courses together again. Remember that we used to
Yeah,
offer
yeah.
courses in New York, and we have
Absolutely.
how many of them we actually ran? It was mainly on automation testing.
It was
Very extensive. When first Cucumber came in, uh,
right,
right 5 years ago.
right.
I think Capital One as the early adopter of Cucumber BDD
Exactly,
in
exactly.
QA. And that was it. That was a hot tech technology. And you were even managing that whole frameworks and uh, high end stuff for Capital One.
Right. Back in the day, I was heavily involved with the test automation, continuous integration, which doesn't necessarily intersect with the data domain. It falls more in the application programming software, web application development. These are the terms that are associated. So when we met, I was heavily involved in making processes automated. Like how can we, from the line of code checked in, get it to deployment in the fastest way possible, right? That's what is continuous integration, and that was a fun phase of my life. And then not that I don't do it right now, I continue to do that because there is an intersection. Uh, Ultimately, data. When you enter the data domain, also you would need application to drive your data eventually. So all of these have been put together, but data itself is such a big ocean because of changing because of the amount of data produced in the big data. Sometimes it's necessary to focus just on the data domain.
Right. And how you can automate that. And again, automation is everywhere. It's not just in the data world or the software world or the testing world. How do you feel about the test automation versus process automation? If you especially talk about the robotics process automation, they are saying that 10% jobs will be taken over by robots, and there are two big companies out there, UiPath and Automation Anywhere. I went to a seminar in Bangalore. I remember that thousands of people are learning robotics process automation. So what do you think about this technology and changing the world?
Right. So I have my own opinion, which I believe where the future might go. All right, kind of predicting what might happen. But I also like to contradict my opinion in another way, where there is a possibility that that might not happen. So let me go with the first one. My opinion where the future might go. So tools come in every day, every week, every month in the software field. Uh, and the pace at which it comes has been increasing day by day. We are, I think we have been talking about industrial revolution 4.0. So everything is automation. Everyone wants automation to be done more and more.
Right.
As you talk about automation, more tools will keep on coming. Ultimately, the tools have to be run by humans, and no tool is 100% perfect. So, my first opinion is that tools will keep coming in, and people will keep switching from one tool to another tool based on the company they work, based on what is the most popular one in the industry, and where do jobs ultimately converge, right? So, back in 2004, 2005, there was a tool called Test Professional, QT. Now, that was the most dominant tool at that time. Nobody could beat because that was one of the first one. Now, there were competitors like Test, which was somewhat closer, but I like to compare that with how Amazon has come up with the cloud, which has captured more than 65%, and the next closest is Microsoft Azure, which is very far off behind. So they're always cool. So coming back to UiPath, robotic process automation, uh, there is definitely they bring in efficiencies. They are better than the state at which the industry is. However, inflating what they can do too much and thinking that, oh, no other tool will ever survive the market, it will all go away and only UiPath will completely cover the global world, I think is the myopic view. That doesn't happen. In my 20 years of experience, I've seen QTP is still being used in many enterprise companies.
Mainframe is still there. All these legacy systems are still there.
It's just that the shares, the share of the market share keeps going down.
Right.
But it happens over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And for someone who wants to, learn, when you start with a tool, learn it with dedication, learn something properly, those concepts are translatable across tools all the time.
Right. Pradeep, one of our brother, Macharla Rupam, has put comments. He's very excited to see you back. And he's saying, he's actually asking you, are you back? Well, that's my question too, if Pradeep is back, because we missed Pradeep for 3 years when he was in India. So what do you want to say to Rupam, Pradeep?
Oh, yeah, dude, I'm here now, and I'm glad to be back and get connected with the closed I shouldn't say closed, a network of people that I've always loved to work with. So yeah, please connect with me. We'll talk about the next efforts.
So brother Rupam is one of them for sure. He's one of them for me.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I was just trying to make some humor there. So thank you, brother Rupam, for messaging. And there was another comments in there that how can you help some Bangladeshi organizations needed with this data consultancy? I think that kind of question. If I can read the question one more time, I will be able to tell you exactly what it is. But one person asked the question. So Pradeep, I think that she was trying to ask, like, do you do any kind of consultancy if needed? Do you go beyond and help organizations like startups and with your knowledge, how can they get benefits out of the data?
Right. So to address the first question, do I do consulting? So I do pro bono consulting at this point, which is mostly for nonprofit. But I think that being able to consult, given past my knowledge and uplift a startup is something which I cherish for a long time. So yeah, absolutely. I've helped a lot of startups in the past and open to talking to whoever needs guidance there.
You definitely, love to share your LinkedIn or contact information at the chat later on this call. Maybe people can find you there and ask whatever help they need. So yeah, that's great. And so let me show you a video of Transfotech Academy, who are actually the sponsor for this episode today. I'm one of the founder of this academy as well, and we are trying to bring a lot of tech innovative courses to the neighborhood in Queens and throughout the world at this moment to our global platform. especially in cybersecurity, cloud, QA engineering. And now that we're going to add these data analytics, considering the data is the word to go, and that 72% of the organization are struggling to find this talent. So that means opportunity to the folks who lost the job you made that. It's just people can learn these tools and techniques basically in 4 to 6 months and get a job. Before we go there, I would like to present a video to the audience of what we do at Transfotech. Very nice, and we are committed to the community and the folks here in New York that will continue to do this. Recently, we became partner with CUNY. It was a big achievement for us, especially Quiz College Tech Incubator. Jointly, we are offering various different courses, and they are very glad. Quiz College has about 15,000 students, 2,000 just computer science. So we really in that neighborhood, and we will continue to do this work. Pradeep, would like to talk about the data science, not the data science, the data analytics course that we're going to offer together, especially. This is where you are helping people. You are coming forward to give out and spread out of your knowledge to the folks who like to step in. So what are the things that will be covered at a high level, and what are the approach that you will take for these folks? I think you are on mute, Pradeep.
Sorry about that. So yeah, let me talk of a few jargon keywords because I'm sure some of the audience might not relate to, and some of the audience might already relate to, and they might be expecting. So I'll try to cover and address various audiences. So the data analytics course that we do gives the fundamental concepts to someone who wants to enter the data. This is a beginner to intermediate level course, so that we help folks even from a non-IT domain to have an understanding, to develop some fundamental skills. Now, when I mean fundamental skills, I mean like, let's say if you're building Lego blocks, right? We are giving the Lego blocks for you to be able to articulate, understand, and then present yourself when you go to interviews, or when you interact with any other folks in the IT industry about the data. So we first start off with teaching some programming concepts with Python. Python is the most dominant programming language out there. That is, in fact, like the de facto language. If you search for any keywords, let's say you want to do natural language processing, you search for natural language processing, and you end up with reading Python code.
It's all Python, machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Right.
It's all Python in the world.
Right. So we start off with that, and then we quickly jump into some data analysis libraries. One of the most popular ones out there is called Pandas. Now, for folks from non-IT background, when you think of pandas, you might be thinking about the panda animal in China. The way libraries are named in programming words, they follow a taxonomy. They can either follow the animal kingdom, they take animal kingdoms, or they can take
vegetables.
Right, vegetables, fruits, or they can take the sea kingdom. Like, for example, Docker is a very popular technology. It uses the taxonomy of all the animals found in the sea. So anyways, coming back to where we are, Pandas is a very popular library out there. We teach the fundamentals of Pandas. Then we teach also the concepts along with this. It's not just programming, because you want to understand how do you use Pandas to do the data analysis and analytics work. For example, if you had Excel background, you must have spreadsheets. You must be doing some analysis. You might be doing pivot charts. You might be drawing some little bar charts, pie graph, or you might be just looking at the rows of the table. All of that analysis can be done through Pandas, but now apply big data on top of it. So that's where people eventually would start understanding, hey, I can do all this analysis in Excel. Why am I doing Pandas? Well, there is a limit with what you can do with spreadsheets, and after that limit is where all the big data analytics work actually begins.
This is where the big data analytics begins, from data analytics, just
Correct.
data, right? By implementing those tools.
By implementing. So after teaching Pandas, we go into another very popular big data framework, compute framework. It's called Apache Spark. Apache Spark is a very, very popular library that came up in the past 5 years. And prior to that, there was Hadoop. Hadoop is still by far the most popular one in the storage systems, the data storage systems. However, for the compute, Apache Spark is right now the most versatile and the most used framework. So we are going to teach the fundamentals of those. And then for each of these, as we teach, we are going to introduce real-time use cases. Like how would you apply that in real life? For example, we teach, let's say you're going to buy a home. Buying a home is an emotional and a sentimental thing for almost everyone in their lives. So how do you use data to make the right decision before going and sitting on the negotiation table? And how do you kind of analyze all of that data and then have those quick pointers before you go and search or something like that? So we teach those kind of real-time use cases. So once we cross Apache Spark, we get into something called koalas. Koala bear, we're talking about. Going back to the animal kingdom, that's another library that combines the best of both Pandas and Apache Spark put into one. Then we move on to visualization, because while you can do programming, if you have to make decisions, you have to be looking at charts, you have to be looking at high-level data, aggregated data. So we get into visualization, and some of the most popular tools out there. Tableau is one of the most popular one. Tool that is not that involves a bit of knowing some programming, but by the time if you do our course, you would have had enough understanding to go into Tableau and start drawing beautiful dashboards and so on. And then we teach whatever we teach in our course is going to be heavily inclined towards open source, so that you're not locked into buying any license tool. You can download any of those, test it on your own laptop, practice it whenever you want it, wherever you want it. And then finally, we close the course by helping the student developing a website where they can post their own reports, where they can post their own analytics, and publishing it onto the internet. So all of right from data to your personalized website that you can post. And the classic example is during the COVID times, I forget the name of the kid in the US. The kid developed a website around statistics, the mortality rate, survival rate of the COVID-19 patients based on the data from CDC. That kid became an overnight star because he was able to publish the reports and make it available on the internet. So you could apply the same thing and build your own websites based on the data set that you're looking at. So we're going to teach that as well. So in a nutshell, to wrap up, Pandas, Apache Spark, Tableau, Metabase is another open source tools, and visualization. We teach all of this.
Well, I already heard like 4 of them are rock star tools, like Spark. Like, oh my God, people learn Spark and get a job. They're starting at $80,000 right there just by learning it. And then this course is equipped with Python, right? And one of these libraries, Panda, that everybody knows. And then Tableau. Tableau is going to be next. What do you call that CRM? I forgot the name. Salesforce, right? Tableau is like on top of Salesforce right now. People use Salesforce. Who doesn't use Salesforce, right? Recently, I had an opportunity to consult PNC, Mosul course. These are all multi-billion-dollar world, largest client. they all use Salesforce, and on top of it, Tableau to display the data. So Tableau is getting their big market share in the industry. Just people just learn Tableau in 1.5 months, and they get jobs that pays 80, 90,000 dollars. So man, this course is amazing. This course is equipped with all these into one. Uh, so I hope the folks will come and register and join, for this course. I think there is a question. Let me read that. I have a question to our guest. What is the market now? QA and big data Hadoop. Which one which one is the most job now? I think this person need to say which one of the market has the most job now.
Right.
QA versus Hadoop big data.
Right. So let's think about it. I would not like to put them as mutually exclusive. These are not two different worlds, right? Think of it as a set Venn diagram, right? You have a circle, there's an intersection, and then there's an intersection as well. So keeping that at the back of your mind, Venn diagram, right? Both of them are decent fields. Both of them will keep moving. They're not going to change because technology and software world keeps on changing. Right now, because there is a shortage of big data analytics engineers, the uptick and the opportunities are very high in the data space. In the past 10, 20 years, QA jobs, skills that have been developed in the industry have ballooned up crazily. So the availability of labor for QA jobs is a bit higher. So, if we have to make a binary choice, like which field has more jobs, it would be the big data domain that has more jobs, will pay higher, and requires more skills. That said, that should not be construed or perceived as there are no jobs in QA. Oh, QA field is dying. QA field will never die. As long as applications exist, someone needs to test it. Someone needs to do the quality assurance. Someone needs to do the check marks. That's not going to go away. The way you do it might change, but QA is going to exist all the time. So jobs are there in both fields. What I generally advise someone, who came from a non-IT background and they want to pick one or the other, is talk to one of our representatives. We'll get into more details about what your needs are. How does your brain work? Do you like data all the time? And then
I think it's more like, what do you like, right? That question. Do you like to code, or you like to deal with data, or do you like to? You're a type of person that looks for perfections and looking for what's wrong in there. So that type of personality, if you have, you should pursue QA career. It's more of your choice. The way I see it, like, industry and a corporation is like a house. Now, if you tell me, do you need doors? Do you need windows? Do you need lights? Do you need all of them? So the corporation needs all of these engineers,
right.
And there are needs for all of them. And it's more like in your choice, what do you want to become, right?
Nice, well worded there.
Yeah. So I think Pradeep, and also what is the prerequisite for this course? Like data work requires to have some sort of knowledge or mathematical knowledge, coding knowledge. What do you think? What are you going to say to the people who really want to make this career, but they don't know whether they are qualified for that or not?
So I would say, if you get intrigued by looking at large amounts of data and you're looking for the signal in the noise, it could be anything in your real world. Like if someone makes a statement to you, a blanket statement about something, and you are like, no, wait, can you explain the reasoning behind it? And if you have that questioning mindset, that you want to know why someone made a claim, if someone made a claim, what are the options? And it is not just one answer, it could be multiple answers. Then your mind is already working towards looking at shades of gray versus everything being black or white, right? So if your mind works like that, then there's a very high probability that you already like data. And when you like data, I would say, data domain is something that never dies. Data is constantly produced. You would have to check out information, and you have to constantly do that. And for the QA world, right? not trying to separate it out necessarily from the big data domain. Um, if you look in the industry, there are QA jobs for big data as well. So
Yes, data testing, right? Big data
right,
testing.
right. So that's the intersection area we are talking about in the Venn diagram, right? So I would say, go for it. There is exciting things, challenging things always in the QA domain and in the QA space. It is about focusing on one area at a time and then completing that fully and then moving on to the next. So that's how I view.
Thank you, Pradeep. I just want to add quick one thing regarding the question. I think it's more, just one other factor to be considered. There, there are a lot of people who thinks that QA is easy to get a job in. It requires less skill, so it might be a good fit for those people who are looking to just step in the IT industry or who just need a job, right? 9 to 5 and pays a decent amount, 80, $90,000 a year, and they just want to live a family life. So it is good for them, but there are this kind of people who are entrepreneurial, right? Really want to get into IT industry to develop a solution, architect some their own app, and that from that regards, I think QA is a dead end. You could do work, you could provide a service solution, and make good money and live happy with that. Versus with big data, you can really solve some of the world's problems, and that might lead to you open your own corporation at some point, own application and whatnot. The sky is the limit, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so on that regards, I think big data is good. So for those people who are entrepreneurial and want to be somebody, maybe want to be an owner, a CEO, a CFO of an IT company, definitely big data is one of the domains. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely right. As we talked about Industry 4.0, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about machine learning, machine to machine communication, Internet of Things, quantum computing. Now, all of these are a lot of jargon. Now, each of these, to get a foot in the door, to be able to do any of the data science work, first people have to understand data analysis, data analytics. How do you process big data? Without having those fundamentals, shift. If we have to again, say which one pays more uh, on an average, right? You could always identify that one little job, QA job, which is probably being done for US uh, military high security work that touches upon 100 different fields. That could pay more than an average, but that is an exception. You cannot make decisions based on exceptions. You have to go with what is an average, what is the average numbers.
Well, well, and then you were talking about Industry Revolution 4.0, and if we know that the Industry Revolution standing on these four technological domain, our pillar, I must say, like IoT, it's all about data communication between devices. And if we start living on those, smart cities, and Alexa is everywhere, even the home management and office management done by Alexa. And think about the amount of data that produced automatically talks between different devices. So as the fourth industrial revolution grow, I think these data jobs will grow more, even higher. It has to, right? Because it's all about data communication, and and then of course artificial intelligence is nothing if there is no data. The whole mechanism works depending on the amount of data is available. And the machine learning, what do you learn? You basically learn about the data. So data is the oil of all of this, right? And as we know that these, for industrial revolution will always emphasize these technologies. So I would highly suggest to our audiences that you definitely want to switch career toward data and learn more about it, or any of these technologies we talked about. And see where it takes. So I'm switching my career to cybersecurity right now. As you know that I recently got certified CEH, and I have a lot of interest in that domain. As data grow, as all of these technology grow, and cyber risks are always growing as well. So I think it's more like you figuring out what career that you want to build. There are opportunities everywhere. So Pradeep, so then I know that you are hosting an open house with Transfotech Academy and Queen's College Tech Incubator together. That will be a great one. I know that a lot of Queen's College students have signed up, but it's also open for other public, right? And after this, I know that we are jointly going to offer a course, the 3 months long MBA course. So would you like to invite people for, I think it's September 19th at 7 p.m. And what are the topics that will be covered in these 3 sessions?
Right. So I think you already covered it. We're going to do an intro session for what we're going to do in the full session. In fact, it's not just going to be a promo, it's going to be the actual course itself on the 19th of September, so that you get a peek into what content we're going to cover. And then subsequently the weekend after the 19th weekend, we're going to kick off the 3-month course, wherein we talked about Pandas, Sparks, visualization, and Tableau, and so on. So we're going to do that as well.
Perfect. And I think this course is open for all the international students, wherever you are located in this room. It doesn't matter. It's just, especially this pandemic puts us into a smaller business, even more smaller right now. Education is all online. International students, whether you're in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, wherever, Nepal, Sri Lanka, you guys are also welcome to join the 3 sessions and check our courses out and spread the word out. So Pradeep, we are almost at the end. Oh man, it's been 52 minutes we're on. I didn't even realize time really passed pretty quick. I have a question for Galib. What's the requirement for QX for Java, Selenium, SQL, API, mobile testing, Maven, Jira? And this question was asked Provasi. Well, since you asked, and all of these things that you have mentioned, there are tools, like some of the stuff that Pradeep was saying. For the Q engineering, world has changed over the last 8 years. It is not the same QA world that it was before, because the software development world has changed. QA engineering, it's a piece of software development, right? It's not an independent world like data analytics. So as software development has changed, now people want to develop software faster. People also want QA to be done in a fasting way, and that's where the continuous integration, DevOps engineering comes in the picture. This is why industry, when they hire QA, they don't look for those manual testers anymore. They look for really having an engineering sort of resource who knows how to develop, how to QA, and how to play those continuous integration role. So it's more like learning QA from the engineering perspectives. Tools will come and go. Selenium is just one tool. And then there are different varieties of Seleniums, right? Ruby-based Selenium, Python-based Selenium, Java-based Selenium. Which one you can learn? So these are the buzzwords that you guys see big, like Cucumber, Selenium, Jira. There are 10 other tools like Jira. So I think it's more like you need to learn the fundamental of QA engineering. How should you think? How your mindset will be? And then you should learn one programming language good. Any of these two, either is Jira or any others, or any of these continuous integration tools, like Jenkins being the most popular one, but there are a lot of Bambos, there are a lot of others. So I think learn QA from the engineering point of view. Any of these tools you learn, there are jobs, like you said. All of these tools set has jobs available in the market. I hope that answered your question. You can jump onto one of our orientation, always welcome. Pradeep, again, we are about to end this. There's more questions. Question keeps coming. Marshall Alam Rupam, brother, said, looking forward to see so dear. Hey, bro, I'm just gonna be a teacher. I quit my job last December. I was talking to Pradeep. Pradeep was pretty upset. My dad was also very upset. Like, what are you doing? I'm saying, no, I've worked in our industry. This is what I want to do. I want to help people. And I am so glad and proud that I've done it, because that was right before the pandemic, and I was able to help so many people who didn't have jobs use pandemic. Also, I have so many students who had jobs where other people didn't have jobs, just because I trained them last year. And this is a legacy and a good feeling that I carry in my heart. And Pradeep also would agree with me, right? Because we started this together. For Richmond.
Yeah, it gives a lot of gratification when someone takes the course and then is able to get a job out of the course and comes back and says, "Hey, that really helped me." I don't think anything can match with that gratification you get.
Yes, absolutely. Helping people during these, and even we want to do it in a broader aspect right now. And people need that help. People need this job and the most at this moment. So thank you, Pradeep, for joining with us, and I'm sure that I will be so excited to join your orientation on 19th with Queen's College Second Incubator, and I invite all of you to join. And I would definitely provide Pradeep's contact information and LinkedIn in the chat below so people can contact you. What do you want to say at the end, Pradeep? The closing
Hey,
comments.
thank you so much, Galib. As always, it's been a pleasure, joining you in the talks, and then having a candid talk, open talk, like how we
Yeah,
had
I'm
once.
always open.
Thank you for letting me talk to the audience, and I look forward to the questions from the audience and continue to answer and make the world a better place.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pradeep. You have a good night. And audience, please keep us in your prayer and see you on next Friday, 9 p.m. on the next episode. And there might be a new topic. Let's cover new technology. Thank you. Good night, all.
Thank you.